Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Metaphysics by Borden Parker Bowne, published in 1882. We're going to begin section 3 of the manuscript now. We're going to begin psychology, because remember, Bowne's metaphysics is phenomenology, system, and state of mind. So we begin the section on state of mind. And we're going to begin by looking at pages 348 to 403, and it will examine the return moment in metaphysics of the refinement of state of mind. We'll take a look at the concept of soul, we'll take a look at the concept of abiding subject, and then we'll take a look at the actualization of the refinement of state of mind. Let's begin with block 1. Let's take a look at the concept of the soul. And Bowne begins with a theory of mind. We address the issue of spiritual being. Doctrine of the soul is central to philosophy. It addresses the trustworthiness of knowing. That is the theory of mind. So only spirit can fill out the notion of being according to Bowne. There must be this theory of mind to complete a study of being or metaphysics. So we do posit the concept of a unitary subject. Materialism provides for no inner self. Materialism denies a mental subject. Thought and feeling demand a subject. We must posit the notion of self, because consciousness can only exist in a unitary subject. And he does emphasize the fact that the self is a self that does conduct a unifying activity in consciousness. So theory of mind plus unitary subject equals a knowing self. True consciousness exists through acts of relation. Consciousness actually will sum up many states into a singularity of consciousness. The abiding subject gathers together a multitude of states of mind into a unity of existence. And they are the following. The gathered states include the present state of mind, the remembered states of mind, and the anticipated state of mind as we continue to be involved in praxis. Therefore, a series of states is gathered up into consciousness that seeks the truth. So that becomes very significant for Bowne, the fact that as knowing selves, we do gather within our consciousness this fluidity of the movement of our spiritual state of mind. So we take a look at in block 2, the concept of the abiding subject. Soul is a substantial subject. The self-consciousness of a plurality of states is gathered into the unity of a thinking subject. Consciousness does grasp the series of change. Under the fact of memory, the soul is the substantial subject that gathers together past events into consciousness. Memory, thought, and consciousness are impossible without the concept of unitary subject. So the substantial subject is unifying subject. The unity of true ego is necessary for any mental life at all. Harmony between things can only exist for a subject who embraces all members of the system. Self transcends the material and transcends the mental by uniting mind and matter in consciousness. The series of things becomes imprinted by the thought series of the conscious self. We imprint the physical objective thing series with the subjective thought series that we posit. The self is a unitary agency created and introduced into the system of the plan of the infinite. So that leads us in note 3, block 2, note 3, to unifying self as a unitary agency. The plan of system includes introduction of new factors as tendencies as the outcome of the teleology or purpose. And then those factors will become then notions of the true and posited causal units as system. In the order of knowledge, thought series precedes thing series because thing series is a phase of the posited thought series. So in summary, if you take a look at block 2, note 4, in summary, we can see that we begin with mindset. The self does grasp the plurality of states of mind as a unity of consciousness, and that becomes constituting of the self's mindset. The self's state of mind is a movement within spirit, and we grasp that fluidity of state of mind in a unity of consciousness. Then 2, posited transcendence. The self next creates real transcendence in the realm of positing by positing a teleology of unification of mind and matter. And that creates agency of causal unit. Agency is self-actualized toward realization as the thought series imprints thing series. Our posited system is enacted through praxis of outgoing desire and that return moment of a reflection and revision. So we have a triad of mindset, posited transcendence, and the agency of causal unit. And so that gives us the breakdown of this third moment of the return moment of the state of mind, but that must include actualization. It must become not merely theoretical, it must also be practical. So let's take a look at block 3 and actualization, or the practical. And we begin with spiritual theory. Mental states must rightly represent physical series. The distinction between truth and error is only possible within the fact of freedom. We posit the notion of spiritual theory. We accept a phenomenal material existence. Only personality fills out the notion of being for Bowne. Only personality can fill out the notion of being. Only personal consciousness. Under discernment through finite spirit or consciousness, we discern the otherness of the infinite. The created soul is inaugurated as a new beginning in the system of God's plan. The soul develops along with the body. The state of mind develops along with the objective reality of process. Soul's mental state runs parallel to the advance of organic system. That's key. That's a key axiom. The soul's mental state runs parallel to the objective advance of organic system. God as immanent in the state of mind, we posit the substantiality of matter. When the order of things is manifested, then the soul will exist for itself, and the soul will exist for system. The self recognizes new factors of being that emerge as tendencies, and then proceeds through the stages of notion and causal unit. We do perceive these new factors, and then we move on to the notion of the true and the system of causal units. This creates our movement of advancing the infinite plan. Then we have the return moment. The state of mind is enhanced and matured with higher power in the return moment out of praxis. We posit and we recognize God as immanent in this process of the state of mind. It's the immanent, creative, living God who is present in this process of the refinement of state of mind. So This begins our third section of Bowne's Metaphysics. It takes us from 348 to 403, and it gives us a tremendous look at the concept of soul, the concept of an abiding subject that provides unification of the fluidity of the evolving refinement of state of mind. That's an ongoing process. Our state of mind is continually being revised and matured as we participate in kingdom by discerning those factors of the new, and then through dialogue reaching notions of the true, elevating suppositions to notions of the true, and then forming a system of posited causal units. Bowne calls those causal units. And then we engage in the praxis of dialectic. We go out in outgoing desire, and we return as that return moment of reflection and refinement of state of mind. So it does reflect Bowne's overall metaphysic of phenomenology, system, and state of mind. Metaphysic is phenomenology as the theoretical, system as outgoing and objective, and then state of mind as the return moment of refining our grasp of the system and the plan of the infinite. So it gives us a great first lesson in psychology. This is the first lesson. I think there's a total of 3 lessons here in psychology, but this gives us the first lesson in psychology. It gives us a great look at the concept of soul and what Bowne means by soul. And basically he means that it is the mental state of a consciousness that provides an abiding process of unification, because we are involved in the movement of spirit from dunamis to energia. And that movement of spirit from dunamis to energia includes the movement of the objective plan of God and the movement of the subjective refinement of the spiritual self. All of that works together as parallel streams and fluidity of movement toward kingdom. So we get a great help here from Bowne, and that's going to wrap up pages 348 to 403. We'll pick up next time on page 404.